Tonight, I think it's safe to say Henry Knowlton's legacy lives on.
One of his proudest accomplishments in high school was striking out 21 batters in a game against Lexington High School.
All-Middlesex League center in 1937, 38, and 39, playing both sides of the ball.
He had the greatest reflexes in the world and the most beautiful attitude in the world.
His consistency matched his ability.
And tonight, the first woman inducted into Winchester High School's Hall of Fame.
Once again, if we could all get seated, we could begin this program. It's so important to pay a fitting tribute to all these inductees tonight, and the seniors as well. And unless we begin the program, it's going to be awfully late before we finish. Would John Sullivan, the town moderator, get up here right away? Bang the gavel, John. You've had enough of that, ladies and gentlemen. Hey. I said John Sullivan, and everyone was quiet. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to apologize up front on some of the confusion with the tables. I hope everyone is settled now. Any of the seniors who find themselves without a place setting or a meal, just speak up and they'll bring one out to you. That goes for anyone who may find themselves at a table without a place setting. Please just speak to the head waiter and they'll take care of you. A little bit awkward tonight. We wanted to serve the salad first because we have a long program. Let's just begin by saying that this is our second annual Hall of Fame dinner, and what a great turnout. Thanks to each and every one of you for being here. We again tonight will focus on the extraordinary tradition of excellence of the Winchester High School sports program by citing 6 individuals who helped create that tradition and by paying honor to the class of 1992 who have ensured the continuation of this great tradition. We will scan 5 decades this evening, during which time our sports program survived the Great Depression, a world war, the beginning and the end of a Cold War, and the assassination of a president. Despite the times, kids kept playing organized sports in Winchester, as if that was one sacred ground which remained immune from all the troubles of the world. The Winchester Sports Foundation exists for the purpose of protecting that ground. Its president is our first speaker. He is a man of quiet determination and strong organizational skills. He constantly challenges himself with objectives which he invariably attains. Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Bush.
Thank you, Sam, for all those nice words. You know, one evening last December, I attended the first planning meeting for this event, and it was an interesting experience. It seemed that as each item was brought up, it got the same response, and that was that Sam Rotundi would say, "No problem, I'll take care of that." I believe on 1 or 2 occasions, Sam said, "No problem, my secretary will take care of that." But the message was clear, and that is that Sam not only created this event, but that he does the majority of the work that goes into it. And I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of the Winchester Sports Foundation to thank Sam for all his hard work and his creativity. Now, there are no doubt some people here this evening who are unsure of just what the Winchester Sports Foundation is. They may wonder why when they come to a Hall of Fame dinner for the high school that they're asked to make their check to the Winchester Sports Foundation. Well, let me explain it this way. You already understand the important part, and that is that we're an organization that you can write your checks to. But Sam has given me 3 minutes, so let me expand on that slightly. 3 or 4 years ago, the school budget in the town of Winchester was restricted to the point where something had to go. significant cuts were needed, and these had to include athletics. The school committee at that time came to the same conclusion that school committees of other towns had come to about the same time, and that was the thing to cut would probably be freshman sports. A group of very thoughtful and energetic parents formed an organization with the express purpose of keeping freshman sports alive as well as maintaining other programs at the high school. People like Lucille Bork and Marty Fuller have spent literally hundreds of hours in this cause, and they've been very successful. The fruits of their labor have been annual checks in the neighborhood of $40,000 given to the school committee and earmarked for the athletic budget. The dinner this evening is one of several events sponsored by the Sports Foundation. Others include a penny drive in the fall. In April, we have our golf tournament, and in June, we have our cow chip roulette. By the way, deeds for the cow chip roulette are currently on sale. I don't think a dinner is the place to get into the specifics of that event. Let's just say it's a raffle of sorts. But back to the event this evening. When you consider the tremendous achievements that these people that we are honoring this evening have accomplished, what a shame it would have been if, because of lack of money, their sport was unavailable and they didn't have a chance to develop their tremendous skills. So really, that's what the Winchester Sports Foundation is all about. Of course, very few athletes attain the levels of skill and the excellence that these people, these new Hall of Famers, have achieved. But I think we'll all agree that organized sports in the high school can be a very important part of each student-athlete's experience. The lessons of self-discipline, of teamwork, and that special feeling you get on that day when things go well. And it might mean scoring a goal in the state soccer tournament or a touchdown on Thanksgiving Day, or it might mean getting your first and only hit of the season in a freshman baseball game, I should say. It all feels the same, and I think everyone in this room knows what I mean. So this is also what our organization is about. But there's one more component of the Sports Foundation, and that includes all of you who have graduated to the less strenuous activity of check writing. You are the ones that really make it happen. You are the team, and if we can keep this team large enough, then we won't risk injury or writer's cramp to any few who have to carry the load. So on that note, I'd like to thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you for your contributions, and I hope you enjoy the evening.
Thank you very much, Rick. Our next speaker is the newly elected chairman of the Board of Selectmen at Winchester to bring us the greetings of that board. Some of you may know him as the rising star of the Winton Club Players, Tom Schmidt.
Thanks, Sam. I bring greetings from the Board of Selectmen. I'm very happy to be here tonight. And of all the duties we're called upon to do, this is one of our favorites. Winchester people who have performed with excellence in years gone by and today. Our special congratulations to Dorothea McKenzie, Artie Johnson, Tony DeCesso, Peter Provenzano, and Vic Lawson. Your athletic accomplishments are the stuff of which dreams are made. We thank you for all you've done, but if you'll permit me to single out one of the honorees, I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about the late Henry Knowlton. I ask that indulgence for two reasons. First, football is the only sport I played, and so it's the only one I know anything about. And second, I think I have a very interesting story to tell. Everyone I've talked to about Coach Knowlton commented on his passion for morality and clean living. I might add that's something that selectmen know little about. Consistent with that behavior is one of Henry's little-known traditions. In fact, it's a secret in the locker room that's not revealed very often. It's reading from the Bible before each football game. I thought it would be a fitting tribute if I were to read one of those passages to you here tonight. In fact, it's the very same scripture he read to the team just before the 1955 Woburn game. And Joe Bellino's here. He can testify to the accuracy of this reading. As many of you know, we reread from the scripture. This is Henry Knowlton's Bible, and it's most commonly from the Old Testament, the slightly revised New England version. And so as Henry did, I will read from the book of Adverbs, chapter 39, verses 1 and 10. Brethren, saith the Lord, we face this day the mortal foe from across the field of water to the north. Pay heed, and gird thy loins, for ere the turkey and dressing is consumed among us, thou shalt joust in the field of honor with the orange horde. Rise up, take your journey, and go over the valley of the Aberjona. Behold, I have given into your hands all the tanners, serfs of the gridiron. Begin to rend their armor helpless and contend with them in battle. This day I will begin to put the dread and fear of you upon the peoples that are under the whole of the Middlesex League, who shall hear the report of you and shall tremble and be in anguish because of you. Go forth and wear thy black and red with pride. For as the sun riseth this day, so too shall the wicked orange Philistines from the north know thy might. If thy foe taketh the pigskin, smote him soundly, lest he fumble it unto thy hand. Shun the forward pass, for it is the things of which sissies are made. Hike the sphere, trample thy foe to but pieces among the gridiron blades, charge straight forward toward thy goal. Only when thou hast crossed the last great stripe shalt thou rest, savoring turkey, the thrill of victory, as the mortal foe tasteth crow and the agony of defeat. Tarry not, my noble warriors, for as thy foe lieth vanquished before thee, show not mercy. Spare not his loins from the force of thy boot, for when the great globe scorer writes the story of this day, he'll record only who hath won, not how well thou didst play. Thus ends the scripture lesson here tonight. May tanners everywhere rest in peace. I'd like to say a few words to the seniors honored here tonight. This is one of the things that selectmen really enjoy doing. You know, a lot of what we deal with are contentious issues, but events like these, we get to take pride in what we think is among the best of Winchester. The young men and women who represent the town in interscholastic athletic events. We're very proud of what you have accomplished for your schools, for your town, and for yourselves. As you prepare to graduate in a few weeks, please accept the wishes for future success in the classroom and on the playing surfaces and in life. I'm not going to preach, and so I wish you a good time at graduation and all the parties associated with it. I'm sure I'll see many of you as the weather warms and as you head into the fells. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to also recognize in the audience other members of the Board of Selectmen who are with us tonight. Peter Van Aken, I believe, is somewhere out here. Is Steve Powers as well? Also, Senator Charlie Shannon and Representative Paul Casey are in the audience someplace. Paul, thank you. Mark Lombardi, the new chairman of the school committee, was going to bring the greetings of the committee tonight, but he's unable to be with us for a last-minute situation, I guess, and in his place will be a former chairman and a present member of that board, Ed O'Connell.
I suppose when we gathered in this room just a year ago and brought Joe Bellino on board, we might have thought that was the end of the line. And far from it, as we look at the list of honorees this evening, we realize fully well that we're just scraping the surface, and this town has such an awesome treasure of people who have starred on all athletic fields over the decades. Of the three people tonight, I happen to have known three of them personally, and three of them are individuals whom I know only by their fame. And surely Dot McKenzie was a pioneer in scholastic athletics for girls. Henry Knowlton, a great name over so many decades. I knew his brother Hal as well, who was a colleague of mine at Tufts. Art Johnson, I didn't know personally, but I sat out in the bleachers at Braves Field as part of the Knothole gang to watch Artie when he pitched for the Braves. Tony DeTesso is a person I know who preceded me at Tufts by a little less than a decade, and I remember Tony as a guy who was almost as skinny as I am. And yet he played on the line and was a bulldog of a player. So as they say, it's not the size of the boy in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the boy. Peter Provenzano comes from one of the great families of Winchester athletics. Pete was such a star in baseball as well as in football and basketball, and of course his brother Frank and his brother Dom were equally prominent. And Vic Lawson is one whom I do not know, and I'm really hard put to understand why Vic is here. I think he's far too young to be in the company of the other individuals. Now we're honoring 6 people who have really made it big in athletics. And I want to change the focus for a moment and go back 40 years to a time when I was coaching high school athletics in Massachusetts. For 2 years, I coached track at Malden Catholic. After those 2 years, I joined the Foreign Service. I got as far away as I could. But I remember fondly those 2 years because I had some great athletes. I had a boy named Eddie Allen, who was a state champion in the 600 and the high jump. I had a boy named Ron Venditti, who was the state champion in the 300, and I had a boy named Dick Finney, who was the state champion in the mile. And I believe every coach could do what I'm doing right now. Think back over 30, 40, 50 years and recall those names. And I remember one other boy from that Malden Catholic team, a boy named Tom Coleman. And Tom Coleman could not run as fast as glue. But he was on the team, and he enjoyed being on the team. Tom never scored a point. He never was in the summaries. He never missed a practice. He enjoyed being part of the team. And I recall one Saturday over at the West Newton Street Armory in Boston, we were finishing one meet, and the coach, who was going to have his team competing with mine the next Saturday, came up to me and he said, "Eddie, I hope you don't run that boy Tom Coleman in the mile next Saturday." And I said, "Why not?" And believe me, Tom Coleman could not break 6 minutes for the mile. And the other coach looked at me and he said, "He's too slow. He takes up too much time and he slows the meet down." And I looked that other coach straight in the eye and I said to him, "One more word out of you and next Saturday I'll run Tom Coleman in the 2 mile. I never saw Tom Coleman after that season. I have no idea what happened to him. I'm inclined to believe that he probably went on and became a lawyer because he had that dogged determination that you need in some aspects of the legal profession. What I'm trying to tell you, the 6 people we're honoring tonight deserve every bit of praise we can heap on them. But at the same time, we've got to think of all those others who aren't the stars, who never will be the stars, but who enjoy the participation. And I'm sure that among those seniors over to my left, there are a number who fit that role. They're never going to be the ones who will make the Hall of Fame. Some of them may not even make a varsity letter, but they have benefited from participation. And right now, that would not be possible without the work and the generosity of the Winchester Sports Foundation. So my friends, if you're going to cheer anyone tonight, besides those 6 great athletes, give a rousing cheer for the Winchester Sports Foundation. Thank you much.
Thank you, Eddie. Another member of the school committee is with us tonight, Connie Marcoule. I want to thank John Sullivan, our town moderator, for once again not scheduling town meeting this evening. Thank you very much, John. Now, to offer the invocation, even though the meal is out, I think we can be forgiven, Father, is the pastor of St. Eulalia's Parish in Winchester and a former Woburn High School athlete who actually competed against one of our inductees, Peter Provenzano. Each has a completely different version of the score of that game. But ladies and gentlemen, I got to go with the priest. Father McGann.
I'm sorry to be late, but we can bless the food we've already eaten too, I'm sure. So maybe we could just interrupt our eating for just one brief moment as we ask the Lord to bless us. Say, Lord, we thank you for all the blessings that you give us. We thank you especially for the gift of life itself. We thank you for the gift of our health. We thank you for the gift of our families and our friends, especially the friends who are with us this evening. We thank you for all the fun and joy that we had from participating in and watching athletic events in days gone by. We ask you to bless all those with whom we played. We ask you to bless those who are still playing. And we ask you to bless those who were our friends and have gone beyond and are with you this evening. We ask you to bless all of us with health in the days ahead and to bless the food we're about to receive now from your bounty through Christ our Lord. Amen. Thank you all very much. Just want to say that I found this today. It's the Woburn High School yearbook for 1942. Look at it. And there's an athletic part in it, and it has an account of the various sports that had been played in 1941, 42, up to the time it was published. It's in the middle of 1942, and it does not have the baseball game that involved, or the games that involved Woburn and Winchester, and my memory is not good enough to remember who won those games. But I think we played, I don't know, we lost 3 games in Woburn that year, and I had the good fortune to be the losing pitcher in 2 of them. The other game we lost was to Somerville in the first round of the state tournament, and I don't know what happened to Winchester. I think we beat Winchester that year, so I'll have to depend upon Peter to find a scrapbook to find out who won that game. God bless you all. Have a nice evening.
Continental Cablevision allows us to go in weekends to the high school, which is a little bit difficult. And we want to thank the manager of operations from Continental, Mike Leone. He was bringing Jeff Husband in on Saturday mornings to open up, Saturday night to close up, Sunday morning to open up. And for the past 3 weekends, that's the way it went while we put this all together. Without much more ado, let's turn to the screens. And anyone who doesn't have a clear view of either screen, please find a way to do that by turning your chairs.
from home. And may you grow to be proud, dignified and true. And do unto others as you'd have done to you. Be courageous and be brave. And in my heart you'll always
you're about to meet a lot of those athletes you just watched. Our next speaker is a noted songwriter and a poet, and he is equally creative in his real job as principal of our high school, Dr. John Ritchie.
I told Joe Bellino that if he was willing to go to his car and get it, I'd read the poem that I read about him last year, but he's still suffering from his broken Achilles tendon, so he refused to go to his car. I don't have a poem this year, but I do have a story that involves our athletic director, Bill Colella, and Saddam Hussein. And if you give me your attention for about 2.5 minutes, I think I can make a connection. You'll recall that last year this country was involved in a conflict overseas with the country of Iraq. Following that conflict, about this time last year, Saddam Hussein, whose name is probably goes in the Hall of Infamy, was walking one day along the shore of the Persian Gulf, and he was a very morose, sad man. His country had just been beaten in a very bloody war, and he had lost his credibility, and he was not feeling good. And he was walking along the sands, as I say, along the Persian Gulf, feeling terrible. And he saw a bottle on the shore of the water, and he kicked it. He was angry. He kicked the bottle. And a little explosion took place, and a puff of smoke arose, and a genie came out of that bottle. And this genie said to Saddam Hussein, "I've been stuck in this bottle for 10,000 years, and I can't believe I've been released. I feel liberated at last, and this is a miracle to me. I'll do anything you want. Whoever you are, I'll do whatever you want for you." And Saddam Hussein was taken aback. He all of a sudden began to feel a little bit enlightened and happy after this terrible experience he'd been through. And he looked at the genie, and he thought for a minute. And out of his pocket he pulled a map. It was a map of the world, the entire world. And he spread it out on the beach, and he said to the genie, "Yes, you can do something for me." And the genie said, "Whatever you ask, I'll do." And Saddam Hussein said, "I want to be ruler of every country on this map. I want to be the person who's in charge of everything in the world. I want everybody in the world to bow down to me and to do whatever I say. And I want to be in charge of every place from the Cape of Good Hope to the Arctic Circle." And the genie said, "Well, you know what? I'm only a genie. I mean, 10,000 years is a long time, but and I'm very grateful, but I'm not sure I can do that. That's a lot to ask. You want to take over the world? I don't think I can do that. That's a little bit too much." So Saddam Hussein sadly folded the map up and put it back in his pocket, but the genie felt terrible about this. He said, "Is there anything else I can do? I mean, is there a second request? Is there something else?" And Saddam patted the map and put it away in his pocket, thinking maybe that there'd be another chance, and he said, "Well, there is one other thing." He said, "There's a little town northwest of Boston called Winchester, and Winchester's gone through some problems recently, and they've got budget difficulties, and they've got a little bit of divisiveness and this and that, and there's a guy in Winchester named Bill Colella, and he's the athletic director. And what I'd like you to do, if you could, is make everything right for Bill Colella. Make his athletic budget work without the help of a sports foundation or people giving money or paying for dinners. Make the town contribute the money necessary to provide for the education of their students and the athletic experiences that they need. And make Bill Colella a guy who makes it all work so that nobody's unhappy, everybody gets along, Nobody argues. People love each other in Winchester, and it all comes together. And the genie looked at him, and he said, can we take another look at that map? Now, I hate to ruin your dinner, but I got to tell you that this story actually didn't happen. This is a sort of a story that you tell. The point of it is that we do really, really appreciate your efforts. Sam Rotundi, I can't tell you how much we appreciate all you've done to put this together tonight. All of you who are here, it makes a tremendous difference to us at the high school. You're going to be seeing the captains of our sports teams tonight, from them and from all the other kids who aren't captains. You're really making it work for us. We appreciate it. I don't want to take any more time because I know you've got more speakers ahead and more things to watch. But from the bottom of our hearts at Winchester High School, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, John. Besides the Winchester Sports Foundation, there's a fledgling organization out there now called the Winchester Foundation for Educational Excellence, thanks to a lot of hard work by a lot of people, but in particular Judy King. And they're going to have a meeting at the town hall on May 19th in the Winchester room. And I'm just telling you this because it's to organize an alumni organization. And many of you are in that category. And if you can make it on the 19th at 8 p.m. at the Winchester room, Al McDonald's going to be there. That's a good enough reason to go in and of itself. And we're just trying to get this thing started because this is another area, and this deals, of course, with a little bit more of the educational substance issues that we're all equally concerned with. Well, moving on. Girls lacrosse this year was a club, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later. But I wanted to mention it first because we're about to introduce the athletes and the sports, and you're not going to hear that word lacrosse, but I guarantee you're going to hear a little bit more about it later. Victor Lawson and I were seniors in the fall of 1963 when we met and a new assistant coach to Coach Knowlton. His name was Bill Colella. As you know, he ultimately succeeded Henry Knowlton as director of athletics at the high school, and he's now going to introduce to us the athletes in the class of 1992, Bill Colella. And Rick.
Good evening, and it's such a wonderful feeling to see so many friends that graduated so many years ago when I first came to Winchester. It's just marvelous to see you. It's a distinct honor for me this evening to present to you the senior student athletes. I feel they represent what is truly terrific about Winchester High School and the Winchester High School athletic program. I would like to thank Dr. Rick Bush and the Winchester Foundation for their tremendous efforts in raising money, and those monies that we get keep our program intact, and I want to thank you very much. Tonight you are inducting 6 marvelous people into the Winchester Hall of Fame, 3 of whom I know personally. Henry Knowlton was a man I met in 1963. He interviewed me for the head baseball and assistant football coach's job. I worked for him. I worked with him. In 1975, I was building a home in Manchester, Mass. And we were sitting in the phys ed office, and we were talking, and I said, gee, I have to rent an apartment because I have to be out of my house in Peabody because I've sold that house and my home will not be ready until October. This was in June. Mandy was sitting there, Dave Berman, and Henry said to me, why don't you and your family move in with me? And I was driving down 128 and I said, I think Henry Knowlton asked me and my family to live with him. I got home and I mentioned this to my wife, And I called. I said, Coach, did you ask me to live with you? He said, absolutely. And from June to October, my wife, my 2 children, and my dog lived with Henry Knowlton. And it was during those 6 months that I became very, very close to him. He was not only a super person, but he was a wonderful, wonderful friend. And there's not a day that goes by, Marcy, in the week that I don't think of him. And I must tell you, I have many mementos at home that remind me of him. He was just a wonderful person, and it's so wonderful to see you and Bob. Another fellow I met about 10 years ago, Tony DeTesso. I got very nervous. I thought it was the other Tony DeTesso who was getting this honor. Tony became athletic director at Melrose High School. I knew of him. I really didn't know him personally. But when Tony came on board, we seemed to hit it off very well. We seemed to think alike, and we seemed to want what was best for our school. So Tony, congratulations, your wonderful family, and my number 1 friend, your son Neil. The third person was on the football team when I came to Winchester. He was a wonderful hockey player, and he was my second baseman. And I'll tell you, Victor, congratulations to you, but I'm more happy to see your mother. Margaret, it is so wonderful to see you. And now, if I may, I have this distinct pleasure to introduce to you the senior athletes at Winchester High School. Now, I compiled this list with my Mickey Merlin. Nice to see you. Congratulations. Oh. I compiled this list. I'm going to read all the names. Some of you may or may not be here. I hope I pronounce all of the names correctly. If I don't, and I stand corrected, please bear with me. Mike Arian, football, he's going to Hobart. Mark Baldwin, tennis, he's going to Northeastern. David Bauman, football and lacrosse, he's going to Johns Hopkins. Margaret Benke, field hockey co-captain, she's going to Smith. My friend Alyssa Berman, gymnastics co-captain, field hockey, she's going to Syracuse. Robbie Bork, football and basketball, he's going to Dartmouth. Patty Boyle, cheerleading co-captain, she's going to Boston College. Bill Brandley, football tri-captain, wrestling, he's going to Florida State or Union. I have to tell you, this guy pinned a heavyweight 2 years in a row in wrestling when Winchester and Woburn were undefeated. It came down to the heavyweight match, and he pinned them 2 years in a row. Three years in a row. Nicole Buckley, cheerleading. She's going to Boston College. Brian Byrne, football and lacrosse. He's going to Phillips Exeter. Jason Capodanno, soccer, baseball co-captain. By the way, the baseball team qualified for the state tournament this year, and he's going to St. Petersburg College. Monica Cataldo, field hockey, she's going to Merrimack. Julie Chamberlain, field hockey co-captain, she's going to Wheaton. John Chen, football, winter and spring track. He's going to RPI. Alexis Christopher, swimming. She's going to Franciscan University, Ohio. Mark Flority, soccer. He's going to Bentley. Sarah Colella, field hockey and track. She's going to Mount Holyoke. Shauna Colozzi, tennis. She's going to Plymouth State. Tim Conlon, hockey. Don't know where he's going. Mike Kramer, soccer co-captain, going to Bates. Jeff Doe, cross country, wrestling, lacrosse. He's going to Columbia. Mark Donnellan, football, baseball. He's going to Union. Chris Dowling, football, hockey, lacrosse tri-captain. He's going to Hobart. Sean Ducey, soccer. He's going to BU. Chris Ebanks, wrestling co-captain. He's going to Wesleyan. Melissa Aylhurt, field hockey and track. She's going to Kenyon College. Tony, how am I doing, all right? Matt Fantasia, football, hockey tri-captain, lacrosse tri-captain. He's going to Holy Cross. David Ficcicello, winter tri-captain, track tri-captain, spring track co-captain, going to Boston College. Lonnie Fidalgo, football, lacrosse tri-captain. He's going to Union. Brooke Foley, swimming. She's going to BU. Jesse Ford, football. He's going to Worcester State. Zach Gaumer, swimming co-captain, lacrosse. He's going to Kenyon College. Nicole Giambro, winter and spring track. Don't know where she's going yet unless she's changed her mind. Jenny Gilpatrick, soccer quad captain. She's going to the University of Virginia. Michael Grandy, soccer winter tri-captain, spring co-captain. He's going to Holy Cross. Okay, all right. E.J. Grant, baseball. Don't know. John Hamilton, cross country, Naval Academy Prep School. Kevin Harrington, baseball, Suffolk University. Ben Haskell, swimming, the College of Worcester, Ohio. Chuck Held, wrestling co-captain, going to Syracuse. Courtney Howard, swimming, Graceland College, Ohio. Heather Hughes, tennis quad captain, going to Notre Dame. Leanne Intravia, tennis quad captain, going to Syracuse. Laura Johnson, field hockey, going to Holy Cross. Charles Keefe, basketball, baseball co-captain, going to Holy Cross. Andy Nouse, lacrosse, going to Western State College of Colorado. Claire Krebs, swimming and track, going to Bridgewater State. Matt Crummy, soccer, going to Carleton College. Chris Landry, baseball, going to Wentworth. Jessica Alonzo, soccer, softball co-captain, going to Merrimack. Daisy Lewis, soccer and basketball, going to Clark University. Jason Lombard, lacrosse, going to Vassar. A lot of people going to a lot of colleges, so you just have to bear with me. Patricia Looney, track captain, tennis, hockey, going to Hobart. Stephen Lucero, golf captain, tennis, hockey, going to... Wait a minute. Patricia Looney's going to Merrimack, and Stephen Lucero's going to Hobart. Scott London, cross country, co-captain, lacrosse, going to University of Massachusetts at Amherst. Michael Ma, soccer, going to Bates. Scott Manahan, swimming co-captain, going to Wilbraham and Monson. Melissa Mandrakia, soccer, going to UMass Dartmouth. Jeff Maney, swimming, don't know. Justinian Marina, track, University of Arizona. Ovidiu Marina, track, going to MIT. Alex Martinelli, football, going to Boston University. Marilyn Maughan, field hockey, going to Cornell. Dan McGrath, football tri-captain, track, going to Union College. Joanna McLucas, field hockey, track, going to Providence College. Julie Millerick, track, going to Holy Cross. Jamie Morrison, football and basketball, going to Dean Junior College. Kyle Monroe, wrestling, going to work. David Murphy, soccer, going to MIT. Jessica Murphy, soccer quad captain, basketball, going to Holy Cross. Janice Nelson, swimming, don't know. Len Nolan, hockey tri-captain, going to Stonehill College. Sarah Noonan, soccer tri-captain, going to Harvard.
Television news. To children of the 90s, it's the newest form of learning. And CNN Newsroom is bringing world events into the classroom. Kids of all ages see, hear, and feel history in the making.
You learn more, and you get to know what's going on around the world.
I can talk to adults a lot better.
And we really do have to listen and think.
I stand up in front of the classroom and I just go, I can't believe this.
This fall, bring CNN Newsroom to your school. Call 1-800-344-6219.
It really makes a difference across the board.
Darren Nowell, soccer, going to Marquette University. Charlene O'Connor, soccer, going to BU. Sarah O'Grady, cheerleading, Tulane. Chris Oliver, soccer co-captain, basketball, baseball, going to the University of Maryland or Brandeis. Megan O'Neill, winter track captain, spring track, going to UMass Amherst. John Osborne, cross-country co-captain, winter and spring tri-captain, going to Tufts. Allison Otis, field hockey, going to Tufts. Javier Ovalis, wrestling, University of Pennsylvania. Chris Potts, football and winter and spring track, going to Curry. Joanna Pasciuto, softball, going to Merrimack College. Leanne Perrone, cheerleading co-captain, going to Leslie. Adam Piandas, football, basketball captain, baseball, going to Bates. Clara Provan, tennis, going to Lehigh. Amy Provenzano, swimming tri-captain, softball co-captain, Russell Sage College. Heidi Renfeld, soccer track, going to American University. Maura Riley, swimming, going to Barnard College. William Riley, winter and spring track, going to Assumption College. Alexis Roach, field hockey, going to Notre Dame. Todd Rotundi, football tri-captain, going to Deerfield Academy. Paul Rowe, wrestling, going in the Army. Patrick Savicki, football, don't know. Sydney Sawyer, basketball, she's going to Yale. Ellen Sayre, field hockey, she's going to Deerfield. Mike Shannon, swimming and lacrosse, going to Mass Maritime Academy. John Stone, spring track, going to Emerson. Julie Struthers, soccer quad captain, spring track, basketball co-captain. She's going to Roanoke College. Christina Sapansky, soccer, spring track, basketball co-captain. She's going to BC. Jeremy Tien, football, basketball, baseball, don't know. William Tilley, wrestling, University of California at Davis. Elias Taliokos, tennis, going to Cornell. Carrie Taza, tennis quad captain, she's going to Merrimack College. Hugh Turcotte, football and wrestling, University of New Hampshire, yay. Phil Veltaggio, hockey tri-captain, baseball, going to Norwich. Ken Yamamura, soccer and hockey, don't know. Have I left anyone off? Who? That's it. Hamill Foster, where's he going? He's not on here. Sorry about that. Have them come up. Okay. Okay, and Bill Colella, athletic director, graduated from the University of New Hampshire.
Thank you very much, Bill.
Hello and welcome. On Tuesday, May 5th, 27 girls from Winchester High School made history. They participated in the first women's lacrosse game. For the past 2 months, these girls have been working hard to show the town, and specifically the school, that a girls' lacrosse team is needed at the high school. Beyond these past 2 months, girls from Winchester High have been trying for several years to organize a team. It is not until this year that we have had 2 committed coaches, Kim Donlin and Shireen Goodman, regular practices, and a few games. Alyssa and I would just like to express to you, our future spectators, the importance of a girls' lacrosse team and the importance of the support which we need to be fully successful.
The game of lacrosse is said to be the fastest game on 2 feet. It requires strength, agility, coordination, and determination. Lacrosse is a thrilling game to watch and is especially thrilling to play. As a first-year team, we had many problems to overcome. Once practices finally began, we had to learn the rules of the game, master the tactics and techniques, and recruit players for various positions, the hardest one, of course, being the goaltender. We did, however, manage to deal with these problems, and yesterday we earned our first victory. Women's lacrosse is an up-and-coming sport. The majority of colleges and universities have either club or intercollegiate teams. We feel that Winchester, and in particular the Sports Foundation, should support us in our efforts and bring some of the action to our community. Thank you.
The voice of the student athlete is essential in formulating policy relative to the high school athletic program. To that end, a high school class taught by John Fusco produced a television program in which several captains were interviewed by their peers relative to their views on the importance of athletics at the high school. Craig Gilreath, a senior in this film you'll see, does most of the interviewing. Let's hear from the kids.
Tell me what field hockey means to you.
It means dedication.
That's great.
It means perseverance. It means not giving up when everyone else gives up.
How has the season been this year?
It's been okay, not great. We've tied a lot. I think we have a good team, but we just tie a lot, which is kind of tiring. It gets to be really tiring. It's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it thoroughly. I think that I've improved greatly from freshman year when I started. I think it's just been a great time for everyone besides myself.
I think most of all sports have probably taught me to deal with setbacks and losing and facing challenges, and probably most of all commitment with sports, because if you're not disciplined and if you're not committed, then you won't be a success in sports.
What have sports taught you?
To try your best, to always put a good effort in, and the results will sooner or later come.
Len, what have sports taught you?
I don't know, they taught you the values of good sportsmanship, how to get along with people. Because, you know, all through life you have to get along with people, and sports here at Winchester High helped you do that.
I'm going to Norwich Military Academy. It should be interesting. I'd like to maybe go into the Air Force afterwards if I make it, and I'd like to play hockey up there. I'm having fun right now. I'm not really looking forward to leaving.
How did being captain affect your relationship with the teammates, and would you do it again?
Yeah, I'd definitely do it again, Craig, to tell you the truth. And I got along pretty well with the team. You know, it was a good rapport with the team, and I thought the season went well as far as that aspect.
Sports for me has always been, I don't know, sort of an outlet for growth, I guess. As captain, I don't know, it was a chance to see what qualities of leadership I had, and being captain, I don't know, it let me know that my teammates respected me, not only as a player, but as a person.
Sports has taught me over the years, I guess,
that you have to show a little bit of class on the field. You can't always argue everything and things like that. And also, sports have given me a lot of new friends that I would never have had coming into the high school and coming into Winchester, because I would never meet them if it wasn't for sports.
Sports have been an important part of my life since I was very young. And being a captain is important to me because I feel there are many responsibilities that I have to hold. I feel it was a challenging experience because I had to be a role model for others to follow, and I had to be a leader both on and off the team.
Okay. First, what have sports and being captain meant to you?
It means that you can be a leader, and you can be a role model for the other kids, and when their spirits are down, you can help them boost them up. But tennis is basically an individual sport, so it's not like, you're on a team, but each person is their own person. I'm going to Merrimack College. I haven't decided whether I'm going to play tennis or not. I probably will, but I can always play tennis in your future because it's an individual sport, and wherever you go, you can always play. You don't need to be on a team.
Well, it's hard to motivate the whole team all the time because we had a lot of early morning practices during vacation and stuff. But it wasn't a big deal, but it was hard. We went winter track. We went 7-2. We got third in the league, and right now we're 2-2.
Okay. How did being captain affect your relationship with your teammates, and would you do it again, Mike?
I think it enhanced our relationship with our teammates, and I'd do it again really soon. Next year I'm going to Holy Cross, and I'm probably going to do track. Probably indoor and outdoor.
Dave?
I'm going to be at BC, and I'm going to try out for the track team.
I think sports have probably taught me a lot about leadership and the successes and hardships of life in general.
How did being captain affect your relationship with your teammates, and would you do it again?
Oh, definitely do it again, and it made a strong relationship because if you're a captain, you have to be a role model for other people to follow. So it was good.
I'm going to be going to BC and hopefully maybe playing soccer.
Over the past 4 years of my high school career, I think sports have meant responsibilities, and I've enjoyed playing sports, and it means great times, friendship, and I hope to continue it in my college career.
Was it a challenging experience to be a team leader?
Craig, I have to say it has been. Trying to lead your peers, and being on a team, you want to be one of the team, but you also want to be a leader. And it's been a pretty challenging experience. I have to, give an affirmative answer to that question, Craig.
I'll be attending Union College in Schenectady, New York, and I'll be playing football and lacrosse, dominating both sports.
Being captain of the wrestling team meant helping out the younger kids and trying to do the best to get everyone to practice and make sure everyone's in shape. And so we can have a great season, in which we did. We only had 3 losses this year, which was pretty good, and we finished 3rd in the state and 5th in New England. I look forward to getting a good education and a degree at Wesleyan University, and I also plan on wrestling there.
I probably won't play football ever again after I leave here. It's sort of sad to look back and think, I played football since I was in 7th grade on a team. I played with Dan since we were in 7th grade together, and then in 8th grade with the rest of the Pop Warners. But it makes me kind of sad to look back, just thinking this might be my last game ever. Sort of sad.
Well, you got to take pride in what you do on the field and take pride in what you do in the classroom, because it all reflects back on the team.
I think the coaches, behind the scenes, behind football and all, that they don't get enough credit for getting us through whatever we need help in, they help us, they make sure they're always on top of our grades, make sure we get good grades. And, if we need them, we know that we can go to them for help, and I think that's very important as a coach, They make you feel good about yourself.
I think Coach Johnny especially, he's not only a coach, but he's a good friend, and I think that's very important to have. And I can honestly say that he's the best guy in the world. I could talk to him about anything. From personal problems to anything. He's just an unbelievable coach, and that gives me incentive to come out every day and practice. It really does.
Throughout the years, Winchester, we've always had great teams. Every year Winchester's going to have a pretty decent team, and it's not because that Winchester produces incredible athletes. It's because year in and year out, the coaches get the best out of the athletes that they have.
I've waited a long time for this season. This is my 3rd year on the team, and I've waited a long time to
play with my friends and the kids that I played with growing up, and so I'm having a good time. We haven't been outplayed by anybody. I mean, Reading's supposed to be that was probably the number 6 team in the state or whatever, and we played even with them. We should have beaten them at least once, and Wakefield and Belmont and everyone we should have beaten, so we can play.
Yeah, the season's been great. It's, topsy-turvy. We haven't scored a lot of goals, but until today. What else? It's we've had fun, tons of fun.
Well, that's the main thing. This guy gives you fun. This coach is a fun person to be around, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, sometimes, right? We don't want to talk about those, right? There was, from last year, losing the first round of the tournament, I didn't like doing that. And as I knew as a senior, I did not want to lose in the first round.
Right.
And I'm putting tons of energy into this season. Everybody is. All the seniors are, juniors down to the sophomores, too. Even the freshman program's doing well.
Hi, I'm Jen Gilpatrick, and this is Sarah Noonan and Julie Struthers and Jessica Murphy, and we're part of the girls' varsity soccer team.
Well, let's see, playing under Chris Scanlon, Mr. Scanlon. Edit that. It's been quite an experience. I've made, as they said, these are all my best friends on this team.
We've been together. Most of this team has been together since we can remember. We started out, and that's what Winchester is all about, is about their program, and it all comes up to this, and this is the final product of the program. And we've all gotten out of this program so much.
For me anyway, it's easier during the fall because it gives you more incentive to do your homework, because you get home from practice and you're tired, so you have the motivation to do your homework so you can get a good night's sleep for tomorrow, because if you have a big game or something.
It's really sad. I know for us, we've been on the team for 4 years, and for it to be all over it's not. Hopefully we have about 5 more games left if everything goes the way we want it to, but for it to be all over, all the six more games, seven, sorry guys. Anyway, whatever the number is, we just want it to go on forever. This was, I don't know about everybody else, 4 best years of my life, just to be part of such a wonderful team. And wonderful.
Thank you. Before beginning the second segment of our program, I'd like to introduce a member of the Hall of Fame Committee for the purposes of presenting a very special award. This presenter has made substantial contributions to the high school sports program as a former athlete and as a coach. He is now the principal of the McCall Middle School. Ladies and gentlemen, Mindy French.
Any really successful sports program, and I mean a program that year in and year out over a 10 or a 20-year period that fields really competitive teams, has at the lower levels, at the junior high and the elementary levels, outstanding coaches. They don't get the accolades that the head coaches get or that the athletes get, but those athletes and those head coaches will tell you, if you don't have good people down at the junior high and at the elementary level to develop the skills, particularly in those skill sports, you don't have the great programs. Now, we have someone here tonight that Bill Colella recognized, and I've seen many of you go up and see him tonight, and I'm going to say that he probably is the best example that I know of in Winchester athletic history of someone that did the job down in the trenches at the junior high level in basketball. I was one of his players, and that's Alfred R. Merling, better known to most of us as Mickey Merling. Sam, you stay there. Many of you know Mickey, and I think that just was a marvelous tribute. And I know it's been wonderful for him and his lovely wife Kay to be here tonight, to have so many of you come to him and say how much you've meant to him. Just going to give you a little quick run-through on Mickey Merling, a little history, particularly for some of our high school athletes that perhaps don't know him, and then a few personal recollections, since I know him pretty darn well, and we have a special presentation for him. It was September of 1931. Some of you remember it well. And Alfred R. Merling, better known again as Mickey, started work in the Winchester Public Schools for the tidy sum of $1,800. Mickey was a physical education teacher at the upper elementary level and at the junior high school level, and he was a coach. The superintendent at the time was a gentleman named James J. Quinn. The principal was Wade L. Grindle, and the two of them interviewed Mickey for the job. He was kind of a wetback right out of Springfield College, no experience. In those days, you didn't get into the Winchester Public Schools unless you had quite a bit of experience. But as Mickey interviewed, and the superintendent Quinn found out that he and Mickey had grown up quite near to each other. Mickey grew up in Brockton, and Superintendent Quinn grew up in a neighboring town, and that they knew a lot of the same people. And as he began to get a sense of this young whippersnapper, this dynamo, from Brockton and Springfield College, he took a chance and he hired him without the experience. And Winchester has been awfully fortunate ever since. Mickey's career spanned 41 years of dedicated service at the elementary level, as I indicated, upper elementary, and at the junior high school level. As years went on and as enrollments began to increase, more of his time was focused at the junior high school level. He was an 7th and 8th grade basketball coach. It was really an 8th grade team, but Mickey always made sure he had a few hotshot 7th graders on that team so that he was ready for the next year. He went on to become an assistant principal at McCall Junior High School. He was an acting principal for a year in 67-68 when Joe Forty went into the central office. Finished his career in 1972 after 41 years of dedication to the young people of Winchester. Now, as I look back on my time with Mickey, I think back to the elementary years and his tremendous enthusiasm for physical education. Physical education, without a doubt, was our favorite sport, and I think that was for boys and girls as well. I remember the bombardment, the crazy ball, the basketball. Perhaps, strangely enough, I remember most the square dancing. Does anybody else remember the square dancing? If you remember the square dancing, raise your hands. You remember the square dancing. Well, you gals kind of enjoyed it. We guys in those days were really reluctant to do any square dancing. And I'll tell you, not only was this guy a great teacher and a great coach, but he was a good con artist, a good con man. Because I can remember him, and I was at Parkhurst School at the time, now the Bartlett School, coming down and saying to the guys, "Look, guys, we're going to do some square dancing." We all groaned. And he said, "You're going to have some fun, but more importantly, I've read the research. Some of the top college football and basketball coaches have got their men doing ballet and square dancing because they want them to work on their coordination, their moves, their steps, and you guys are going to be better football players and better basketball players if you do this, and you're going to have some fun." So we did it willingly, and we had a lot of fun. And you did con us, Mickey, very, very well. I remember that well. I remember playing for Mickey in basketball in the 7th and 8th grade. I remember a guy that just exuded enthusiasm, who taught us the skills of the game, who taught us the strategy of the game, and I bet I could get Joe Bellino and a few other guys, John Lynch and some other basketball players, we could get up here and go through those darn plays, because he drilled those plays into our heads backwards and forward. There were 7 plays, and you not only had to know the guard, you had to know the forward and the center plays as well. But that was the kind of coach that he was, so that when Ted Bartlett and later on Jim Phillips got us, we were pretty well prepared for that tremendous high school basketball program that some of you may remember in the 50s and 60s. when I can remember the Boston Herald article saying, who put the win in Winchester? This guy right here at McCall Junior High School helped to put the win in Winchester. Mickey Merling, for all of us who have known him, has been a marvelous role model. We've talked about role models tonight. He's a man who knew his subject. He lived his subject. Look at how trim this guy is today. He's a man who, most importantly, had a deep and abiding love of children, and he still has that. Mickey, we owe you the world, and you're right here with the best of them. We love you, Mickey, and congratulations. Absolutely.
This is probably one of the greatest occasions that I could possibly have. I taught here for 41 years, and I thank you people for coming this evening and the number of people who came up to congratulate me. Now, for some reason or other, being 83 years old, your memory fades a little bit. Their names, some you will never forget, but you never forget the face either. I wonder if you would give me the pleasure of all students or all gentlemen and all ladies here who had me as a gym teacher, whether you were in the grade schools. I would like to see your faces once again. And thank you again for inviting me here and giving me this pleasure of seeing you. I have lived on the Cape, and one of the greatest mistakes I ever made in my life was to leave Winchester. I still love it. It's God's greatest country in the East. And I hope, sincerely hope, that the time will come where I can move back to Winchester. I love it so much.
Stay right there, Mickey. We got something over here. Here we are. Mickey.
Thank you.
We have this special presentation for Mickey, Alfred R. Mickey Merling, for outstanding contributions to the Winchester sports community, Winchester Sports Foundation, May 14, 1992. And I'll bet he can still do those one-arm push-ups, pull-ups. Anybody remember those? Mickey Merling. Thanks,
Thank
Mickey.
you. I also will admit that I had a partial agreement of the young ladies that I had in school. The boys I took for granted. Would you gentlemen and ladies that did have me in school, would you please stand so I can see your face once again? Come on. Thank you. And I hope that I can make the next occasion, it will be the third one, to have such a wonderful, enjoyable evening. God bless you. Take this with you. Oh, yeah, I can't have that. I got to tell you one more thing. Stay here. All my life, because I was of Swedish extraction, born in Brockton and lived in Brockton, and was a Republican. Now, don't clap yet. And you know, at one time, and I'm going to have to admit this, it's a little ridiculous, but being a Republican, I noticed that Mr. Rotundi was running for office in his second session. And I said to Kay, look, that guy's one of the greatest kids I ever knew in my life. He's a Democrat, and we are going to change to be nothing. Neither Republican or Democrat. No. The catch now becomes, and I was sober as a judge. Kay and I had been out shopping, I was fatigued, and we were going to vote. The voting was done on Cape Cod at the fire station, and we walked in, and they greeted us and said, what do you want to be, Republican or Democrat? And I said, neither, not Republican, I'm sorry. Be, what is it?
Independent.
Independent. And he said, well, what do you want to vote? I said, I'm a Republican and I want to vote Republican. And the guy looked at me as if I were crazy, and I was. Because I should have said Democrat or Independent. Thank you very much for listening to what I have to say.
That's great. Hey, Whip, was that Republican line from? Yeah, I thought so. Okay, it's time to induct 6 new members into our Hall of Fame. And we thank you for your patience. I assure you it's going to be a great ending. I do want to recognize our first inductee who came in last year, Joe Bellino. How are you, Joe? Thank you. You know, there's a lot of coaches in this audience, and I know I'm going to miss some, but last year I missed Manny Marshall, and I didn't forgive myself for a whole year. I'm not going to do it again. So where's Manny Marshall in this hall? Manny. Thank you. There's a Woburn group out here tonight. You know, every year Woburn invites Winchester up to share dinner before the Woburn-Winchester game, and I always thought Winchester should reciprocate, but never really did. Well, last year we began a tradition we hope will continue forever, and they're with us tonight. I'm not sure who is. I know that Paul Andrews, superintendent of the public schools, is here. Paul, are you in the audience? Did you finally make it? Yep. If not, I know that Walter White, who was the former director of athletics over there and a very close friend of Coach Knowlton's, wanted to make it here as well tonight. This next segment is a real difficult segment because we wanted to show you film of these inductees like we were able to do with Joe. But film really didn't come into being here in this town till the season of 1941. And that meant really we could only catch a few of Peter Provenzano's games. Victor Lawson played hockey, and there was no film of hockey in those days, nor was there film of baseball, which he excelled in those 2 sports. He played football, but played on the line, and I went through film after film after film trying to catch Victor, you know, in some sort of continuity, and we just couldn't do it. So forgive us, but believe me, some of these still pictures I think will have an equally strong effect on everyone in this audience. So let's take a little stroll back and take a look at some of these sports heroes.
It must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face.
Howard Niblock was a former principal of Winchester High School. In speaking about Henry Knowlton once, he said that Henry Knowlton is the cornerstone of the temple that is Winchester athletics. He is proof that an individual can impact generations by hard work, fueled by a clean spirit, and directed by a powerful belief that organized play can supply the necessary tools with which to pour the very foundations of human character. To present the induction of Coach Knowlton is a man familiar to many of us through his byline in the Woburn Times. What we probably don't know about him was that he was a lifelong neighbor of Coach Knowlton, and he placed his name in nomination. Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Pearl.
Thank you very much, Sam. Before I begin, I'd like to introduce some of Coach's relatives that are on hand tonight. Many have come from quite a distance to be with us. His sisters, Ethel Jung and her daughter, Louise, is here tonight. His sister, Bunny, and her husband, Vinnie O'Mara. His sister, Helen Sweeney, and his brother, Hal's daughter, and her husband, Carol and George Donovan. You'll meet Marcy Allison, his daughter, a little bit later. Her husband, Bob, is also with us tonight. And her Coach's sister-in-law, Martha Spence, and her daughters, Candy and Kathy, are also with us. It is a distinct honor for me to be asked to present our first Hall of Fame inductee of the evening. In many ways, it is an imposing task, for how can one possibly describe in a short time just how much Coach Henry Knowlton meant and continues to mean to the town of Winchester? Perhaps I should start this way. For over 40 years, there were many outstanding men and women who coached athletic teams in this great town, but there was only one coach. With no disrespect to the current staff or those who will follow, there will never be another like him. He was universally loved and respected by those who either played with him, for him, or against him. He was a shining example to every young man and woman who passed through the hallways or graced the playing fields of Winchester High School. He was a clean living man who not only taught his players how to win, but how to win with grace and with humility. He could be tough, but he was inherently fair. He was a winner in every sense of the word, but he understood a basic truth, that for every winner there is a loser, and that for every high point in one's life there is a low point. And so he stood on the sidelines through winning seasons, and much less frequently through losing seasons, with the same stoic expression, a rock for his players to cling to. Coach Knowlton was born and raised in Winchester. He attended public schools here, and he was one of the high school's earliest stars. He played football and basketball for 4 years at Winchester High, and baseball for his first 3. He led the football team in scoring his final 3 years, and his career total of 132 points was a record at the time. He captained the team in his senior year of 1927 and led it to the old Mystic Valley League championship. From Winchester, Knowlton went to Springfield College, where he was a standout football player for 4 years. He also lettered in baseball, track, and swimming. After being graduated from Springfield, Knowlton began his 34-year coaching career as an assistant at Winchester under his high school coach, Wendell Mansfield. After 2 years in that capacity, Knowlton accepted a job at New Hampton Prep in New Hampshire to coach football, basketball, and baseball. In 1935, Knowlton moved to Plymouth, Mass., where he coached those 3 sports for 4 years. Finally, in the fall of 1939, Coach Knowlton came home. George Lauer, who had replaced Mansfield as Winchester's coach and served for 3 years, moved on, and Coach returned to Winchester to take his place. For the next 43 years, he served the town as phys ed instructor, football coach, baseball coach, basketball coach, track coach, athletic director, and trainer. Coach probably even swept the floors and drove the buses at some point in his career. As Bill Colella, your outstanding current athletic director, once said, he was as much a part of Winchester as Winchester Center. It was as a football coach that he was best remembered, of course, and in that department he was without peer. The man won nearly 75% of the games he coached. His career record of 215 wins, 72 losses, and 17 ties earned him a first ballot spot in the Massachusetts Football Coaches Hall of Fame in 1969. At Winchester, Knowlton's teams won 170 games, lost just 63, and had 17 ties. He had many great players and several outstanding assistant coaches, and invariably he would credit them for his team's success. But as great as the players were, and how many other small towns in America can boast a Heisman Trophy winner, as Winchester can in Joe Bellino? As great as those players were, the players came and went, and the Sachems kept winning, and winning with grace and style. They won right through Coach's final game, the Thanksgiving Day contest in Woburn. Bob Newtile, the captain of that 1966 squad, remembered that the team was 4-3-1 entering the game and desperately wanted to win to send Coach out on the right note. When they did, the team carried him off the field on their shoulders, truly a fitting conclusion to a sensational coaching career. But Knowlton's involvement with Winchester athletics didn't end there, however. He became the school's athletic director in 1966 and served in that capacity for 8 years until his retirement in 1974. Under his guidance, Winchester maintained its reputation as an athletic powerhouse, expanded its program, and served as an example of excellence that other schools tried to emulate. Even after his formal retirement, Coach remained involved with the program as a trainer and as a volunteer assistant. The young men and women he helped during that period came to love and revere him just as much as those he had helped 40 years earlier. At Christmas time, 1981, Coach Knowlton, one of the healthiest and strongest men many of us will ever meet, was diagnosed as having cancer. Coach fought the cancer bravely and quietly, and his faithful daughter Marcy returned to Winchester from her home in New Jersey to be with him. Eventually, however, the cancer took its toll, and on June 20th, 1982, the town of Winchester lost its coach. Sam Bellino, one of the many Bellino brothers whom Henry Knowlton had the pleasure of coaching in his legendary career, summed up the shock of the community when he said, "It always seemed to me that he was going to live forever." Tonight, I think it's safe to say Henry Knowlton's legacy lives on. Winchester remains one of the finest athletic communities in the Commonwealth. Its high school teams continue to excel despite being one of the smallest schools in its division. Somewhere up there, Coach Knowlton is looking down on us tonight and smiling. He showed Winchester how to win, and he showed Winchester how to lose with dignity. His teachings and accomplishments are forever burnished in the psyche of his beloved hometown. I now present to you, accepting the award in Coach's behalf, his lovely daughter, Marcy Allison.
The Knowlton and Allison families want to take this opportunity to thank all who made this evening possible, with a very special thanks to Rick Pearl for nominating Coach to the Winchester High School Hall of Fame. When I was informed of my dad's induction into the Hall of Fame, I was asked to say a few words. If Coach were here today, I am sure he would say many of the things he said at his retirement May 31st, 1974. Now seems an appropriate time to read a few of these quotes. Winchester doesn't owe me a thing. I've been just so happy to have been a part of it for all these years. I owe so much to so many. Money could never buy what I've got. Friends, and lots of them, in all walks of life. I believe the more students we can interest in athletics, the better the town will be. When they're on athletic teams, they're less likely to be getting into trouble. Our team has always supported athletics. I hope they always will. And thank you, everybody, for honoring this very special man who has touched the lives of many of us here tonight.
Thank you. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the spring of 1929, months from Black Thursday, a day which changed our nation forever. It was the year in which wax paper cartons rendered glass bottles obsolete for milk delivery in New York, and Babe Ruth hit his 500th home run. Thomas Mann won the Nobel Peace Prize, and vintage American novels were published, like Woolf's The Combed Angel, Hemingway's A Farewell to Arms, and Faulkner's Sound and the Fury. Silent films were overrun by talkies, and songs like Tiptoe Through the Tulips and Singing in the Rain and I've Got a Crush on You kept the messengers of doom at bay. And as the seeds of a new America were planted, Martin Luther King was born. Here in Winchester, Dot McKenzie was graduating from high school after a remarkable career. To present her to you and to officially induct her into the Winchester Sports Foundation's Hall of Fame is another woman who has an extraordinary athletic background in this town and continues to give so much to our young people. Jan Dolan.
Thank you, Sam. Well, this certainly is a special evening when we gather to honor the young and the young at heart. We have recognized more than 100 members of the class of 1992, and we have celebrated their many accomplishments. And now we are inducting into the Winchester Hall of Fame a select group of graduates of Winchester High School who distinguished themselves as competitive athletes at the high school. I do salute Mickey, and Rick and Marcy, thank you for that very moving tribute to my dear friend Henry. I have the honor tonight to introduce to you our next nominee, Dorothea McKenzie, class of 1929. But before Dot is inducted, let me tell you a little bit about her. Now, interscholastic sports were thriving in 1929, just as they are in 1992. There were less than 500 students at the high school. Girls had 3 sports. Dot was involved in them: field hockey, basketball, and tennis. And she earned 9 varsity letters. But Dot is most remembered for her excellence in field hockey. But when I talked to her, she was quick to remind me that she played basketball. Now, you saw her picture. And she said, I played side center, and I took my share of shots. And I bet you she made her share of baskets. But try to remember that vision when she comes up here in a few minutes. But back to field hockey. Dot played right wing. And if you know field hockey, you will know that a right wing has blazing speed, a quick stick, a quicker mind, and can thread a needle with her pass. And apparently Dot had all of this and a lot more, because in her sophomore year, she was named to the All-Boston Public School field hockey team. I suspect that was the precursor to our current interscholastic, all-scholastic teams named by the Boston Globe and the Boston Herald. But this honor was the first of Dot's many firsts, because she was the first Winchester High School girl to be named to this team. In her senior year, Dot was captain. The Winchester Star reports about this extraordinary team and the sensational play of Captain Mackenzie. In some articles, she was known as Tootsie Mackenzie, and in other articles as Wee Dot Mackenzie. But the 1928 team played an undefeated, untied season, and they won the championship, the first Winchester field hockey team to achieve such a record. And Dot was again named right wing on the All-Boston team. And in the fall of that year, the Mansfield, you just heard of Wendell Mansfield, the Mansfield Wheeler Cup was presented. This was a trophy named in memory or in honor of the two coaches, Wendell Mansfield and Priscilla Wheeler. And the inscription read, "This is awarded to the senior boy and the senior girl who during their 4 years at Winchester High School have stood for good sportsmanship, hard, clean play, doing and giving their best at all times for their teams and the school." And the tradition of that cup continued into the 50s, but Dot Mackenzie was the first winner. And as is true of so many of our athletes in the history of our high school, Dot was involved in the total school scene. She was elected a class officer in her sophomore year and again in her senior year, and she was voted best all around and most popular by her classmates. And one more first. Dot was a member of the Abba-Jonah yearbook staff. Well, what's significant about that was it was the first Abba-Jonah yearbook. Well, that's a thumbnail sketch of some of Dot's many accomplishments between 1925 and 1929. But I really want to tell you a bit about Dot Mackenzie in 1992. Recently, I visited with Dot. We sat in her dining room, and she talked about her high school years and her enthusiasm for sports, her sense of the excitement of competition, her understanding of the value of teamwork, her appreciation for her teammates. All of this sounded like it just happened yesterday. And if you've done your math, my friends, you know it wasn't yesterday, it was 63 years ago. And for me to see Dot's expression and to hear the conviction and the vigor in her voice and to sense her real love for life convinces me even more that the value of sports and real sportsmanship can truly last a lifetime. So my friends, it's my great pleasure and honor to introduce Dot Mackenzie for yet one more of her firsts. The first Winchester High School girl named to the All-Boston field hockey team, the captain of the first undefeated, untied championship field hockey team, the first recipient of the Mansfield Wheeler Cup, and tonight, the first woman inducted into Winchester High School's Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Dot Mackenzie, class of 1929. Dot, on behalf of the Hall of Fame committee, it's my honor to induct you. And the inscription reads, Dorothea McKenzie, Winchester High School class of 1929, on the occasion of your induction into the Winchester Sports Foundation Hall of Fame, inducted 1992.
Thank you very, very much. Don't go away.
I'm not going to go.
Lose my voice. Thank you, Jan. After your introduction, my head will be too big for my hat. A little birdie tells me you were one of Winchester's great athletes, and you are currently its Director of Physical and Health Education. Great work. Wonderful. Hi, everyone. To Chairman Sam Rotundi and Winchester's Sports Foundation Hall of Fame Committee, my sincere thank you for your time and effort in electing me to the Hall of Fame. An unexpected honor and tribute I shall always cherish. 62 years ago, little did I realize, 62 years ago, little did I think I would be receiving this recognition. May Winchester Sports Foundation Hall of Fame be a living symbol for many, many years. My strongest advice when participating in any sport is to keep your eyes on the ball at all times. Be a team player and respect your coaches. My congratulations and best wishes to tonight's other inductees. To Sam and the committee, thank you. Again, in considering me for this great honor, and best wishes and continued success in all your endeavors. In closing, I would be remiss if I did not thank my brother Sandy for his untiring support. Thank you, Sandy. To my mother and father for their encouragement to take an active part in sports. I shall never forget them. To my teammates, how can I thank you? If it wasn't for you, I would not be here tonight. God bless you, and America too.
Thank you. It was 1938, and Hitler's army had taken Austria, but Joe Louis counterpunched by flooring Max Schmeling in the first round. The minimum wage was set at 40 cents, and the foreshadowing of horrors to come was embodied in the radio talk show H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds, which temporarily paralyzed the nation. The Hobbits and Yearling were published, and Flatfoot Flugie with the Floy Floy shared the charts with Jeepers Creepers, Where'd You Get Those Peepers? As Dizzy Dean was traded to Chicago in April, Winchester baseball fans were busy witnessing their own pitching sensation. To introduce him to us and to induct him into the Hall of Fame is a man who is the director of athletics at Frank Scott Bunnell High School in Stratford, Connecticut, and is the son of our inductee. Please welcome David Johnson.
Thank you, Sam, and good evening. As a high school athletic director and a coach and a teacher, it's a tremendous thrill for me this evening to be able to present this award to my dad. Before I introduce my dad and recognize him, I would certainly like to congratulate all the senior award winners here this evening and all the Hall of Fame inductees. Certainly your family and your community and certainly your school are obviously very, very proud of you. My dad, Arthur Henry Johnson, Winchester class of 1938, was born and grew up in the Plains section of Winchester. While attending Winchester High School, he lettered in 3 sports, playing baseball, basketball, and football for coaches Wendell Mansfield and Coach George Lauer. Although he excelled in baseball, he also played football and basketball and excelled as well. A 3-year varsity performer in football, his senior year saw him score 2 touchdowns from his halfback position in Winchester's 46-0 rout of Woburn in the 1937 Thanksgiving Day football game that clinched the Middlesex League Championship. He also played center on the basketball team that winter. It was baseball, however, where most of his scholastic notoriety and acclaim was achieved. He recorded a 21-1 career pitching record and was instrumental in leading Winchester to the 1938 Middlesex League Championship. His only loss in high school was his senior year 1-0 defeat to Maynard High School. One of his proudest accomplishments in high school was striking out 21 batters in a game against Lexington High School. During high school, he also played for the semi-pro Winchester Millionaires, a team that often barnstormed throughout New England and were a dominant force in the Boston Parks League at that time. Between his junior and senior years, he attended a tryout camp at Braves Field, which is now Boston University's Nickerson Field. The camp was run by, at that time, Boston Braves scout Jack Onslow. He so impressed club officials that he ended up pitching batting practice for the Braves that summer and signed a contract with the Major League club effective the day after graduation. Upon completing high school, he reported to Erie of the Class C Mid-Atlantic League, where he notched a 6-1 mark for the Sailors. 1939 saw him record a 12-6 mark for Evansville before being called up to Hartford of the 3I Eastern League. In 1940, pitching for Hartford, he fashioned an 18-11 regular season record with 126 strikeouts and 3.1 earned run average in leading Hartford to the Eastern League playoffs. As a matter of fact, it was during that season in 1940 and pitching for Hartford that he so impressed the opposition that no less than 5 other Major League teams offered to buy his contract from the Boston Braves. At the conclusion of the 1940 minor league season, he was promoted to the National League Braves, who were managed at the time by Hall of Famer Casey Stengel. He appeared in 2 games that season, including the first start of his Major League career versus the New York Giants in the Polo Grounds. The opposing pitcher that day was Hall of Famer Carl Hubbell. Admittedly nervous that day, he was knocked out in the 4th inning. In 1941, his first and only full season in the major leagues, he won 7 games, led the Braves in appearances and strikeouts, and fashioned a fine 3.53 earned run average. His first major league victory was a 6-3 win in relief over the St. Louis Cardinals. His first start in 1941 resulted in a 5-hit, 4-1 win over the Philadelphia Phillies. During spring training of 1942, while pitching against Bob Feller and the Cleveland Indians, an injury to his throwing arm resulted in his missing the remainder of the season. After serving for 3 years in the Navy, he reported to spring training with the Braves in 1946, but unable to continue pitching, retired from professional baseball. From 1946 to 1948, he was employed by Wilson Sporting Goods before entering the insurance business in 1950. From 1965 to 1970, he was the head baseball coach at my alma mater, Holy Name Central Catholic High School in Worcester, Mass., where he turned the program into a winner. As a matter of fact, his 1968 team won the Worcester City Championship. In 1977, he was honored by the Boston chapter of the Baseball Writers of America at their annual banquet with the ex-Boston Braves Award. This annual award that recognizes a former member of the team had previously been presented to Warren Spahn, Johnny Sain, and Tommy Holmes. Before I introduce my dad, I'd like to take this opportunity to read a letter from a gentleman who was the starting shortstop for that 1938 Winchester High School team. A much-deserved and long overdue honor, the induction of Arthur Johnson into the Winchester High School Hall of Fame. Playing the infield behind Art was the same as having the day off, because few, if any, high school batters could touch the assortment of pitches that Art served them. Having been with the Boston Red Sox for 46 years, I have some knowledge of what it takes to pitch in the major leagues. It takes a tremendous amount of ability and much hard work and dedication. Art had it all and is most deserving of this tribute. Congratulations, Art. Ed Kenny. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, it's a tremendous thrill and with a great deal of pride that on behalf of my mom, my brother Steve, and my sister Barbara, who are all here this evening, to introduce to you my dad, Arthur Henry Johnson. By the authority vested in me by the Winchester Sports Foundation, I'd like to present this plaque to my dad, and it says, Arthur Henry Johnson, Winchester High School Class of 1938, on the occasion of your induction into the Winchester Sports Foundation Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Dad.
Thank you very much, David. 54 years ago, I graduated from Winchester High School. And I left town the day after to start a professional baseball career. And you heard most of what David told you, what happened. And I enjoyed it, had a lot of fun, met a lot of wonderful people. And I've always been on a team, and I would like to take this moment to introduce my family team to you. The captain of our team is Loretta Johnson, who was a 1938 graduate of Winchester High School also. Please stand, Loretta. You already know my son, David. My number one daughter, Barbara, who does everything. And the softball king of central Massachusetts, my youngest son, Stephen, and a very eligible bachelor, incidentally. But I also have two other people I have to introduce this evening, I would like very much to. My brother, Carl, was a graduate of Winchester High School and quite an athlete himself, and went into professional baseball also. Carl? And my brother-in-law, Jim Gaffney, who was a co-captain of football at Winchester High School in 1935. Yeah. Returning here this evening to receive this very prestigious award is really something. I can recall the many years that I spent since I retired from baseball, and they've been very happy years. I have a wonderful family. I've spent 40 years in the insurance business. I'm now retired and doing absolutely nothing. I came back to Winchester last Monday, and as I drove around town, I looked for the house that I was born in. And it was on Railroad Avenue, number 45 Railroad Avenue. It is now Shore Drive. And guess what? They tore my house down, and Sam Rotundi had an office built there. Thanks, Sam. Okay. You know, as I sat there this evening and watched these wonderful high school athletes come up to receive their awards, I thought back, and it's just a wonderful era in their lives. And I recall once, and I don't know who wrote it, but someone wrote that there are three types of people in this world. People that make things happen, people that watch things happen, and people who wonder what happened. And I would hope I would hope all of these seniors would go out and go forward and make things happen. It's very important. I probably will never make the Hall of Fame in baseball. But who wants to be in the Hall of Fame with Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and Ted Williams and Willie Mays? This is more important to me because these are where my roots are. This is where I came from. And I'm very happy to be here this evening, and I thank you all for this wonderful award. Thank you very much.
Let me tell you something, kids. If you could take one thing from what you're seeing here tonight, remember these people excelled when they were your age. You know, and there's a direct relationship between the extent to which they excelled and the extent to which they excelled in life. And that's all I'm going to say. But just keep listening. Yeah. A new decade began in the 1940s with the words of Winston Churchill. We have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat. Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men and Hemingway's For Whom the Bell Tolls reaffirmed Churchill's sentiment. You Are My Sunshine and When You Wish Upon a Star were the hit songs, and Clark Gable signed a $2 million contract with MGM. 92,000 fans watched Southern California beat Tennessee in the Rose Bowl, and about 12,000 fans watched the Winchester-Woburn game with a particular focus on the Center for Winchester, whom you are about to meet. The person who will formally induct Tony DeTesso was recently inducted himself into the Boston College Hall of Fame, and that's not easy, and was also an outstanding athlete at Winchester High School. Besides representing this town and the Board of Selectmen, he represented us as well in the House of Representatives. Ladies and gentlemen, Whip Saltmarsh.
No, you don't take those. I'll be ready by Sunday, don't worry. We're going to beat Pittsburgh. Sam, just before he introduced me, made reference to the fact of some of the comments that have been made by the previous speakers. And he referred to particularly to the seniors this year who have received awards and who've been mentioned here this evening. Some of you in this room have not lived in Winchester all your life, but you're fortunate enough to have moved here and now it's your home, as these seniors who are graduating from Winchester High School. But one who has lived here all his life, I can really appreciate just what has gone on in this program so far this evening. Rick Pearl got up as a neighbor of Coach Knowlton. Coach Knowlton's daughter came up and spoke. Jan Dolan came up and represented Sandy McKenzie's sister. Artie Johnson's son came up. And really, isn't this what Winchester is all about? The fact that you see... Some of you may not know this, but 4 of the recipients tonight were neighbors. Artie Johnson told about his house being taken down so Sam could build his office. Dottie McKenzie, they lived in Washington Street right across from the drugstore where Cumberland Farms is now. Peter Provenzano, whom tonight I never knew even had hair, Peter, now, but nice to see you here. Peter Provenzano lived down in Florence Street, and the gentleman that I'm going to talk to you about this evening, Tony DeTesso, lived in Olive Street, all within earshot of each other. Again, it was a neighborhood. It may be which, if you look around and you see what's going on in America today, it'd be great if we could get back to these neighborhoods and see the relationship of people, which you have seen tonight, particularly the 4 I mentioned who lived right in that area. and Coach Knowlton, who grew up in Winchester, went to school here and so forth. And Vic Lawson, I'm glad to see the first hockey player introduced to our Hall of Fame. The gentleman that I have the distinction and pleasure of introducing you tonight to our Hall of Fame, to me, epitomizes the type of athlete that we'd like to see represent Winchester High School, interscholastic athletics as a whole. I'm going to read through his accomplishments, both at Winchester High School and at Tufts University, and some of the things that he did after he graduated from Tufts. Tony DeTesso graduated from Winchester High School in 1940. On the varsity football squad for 4 years. Started and played a whole game as a freshman against Woburn on Thanksgiving Day. Imagine, 4 years to start for Winchester High School against Woburn on Thanksgiving Day. He was co-captain in 1939 of the football team, All-Middlesex League center in 1937, 38, and 39, playing both sides of the ball. Today, in the age of specialization, particularly in football, we don't find many people that play practically the entire game anymore. I just like to, if the people are from Woburn are still here, I'd like to read a comment from the Winchester Star. This was in 1949. And it was an article which was about Tony, was appointed the football coach at Stoneham High School. I'll just read one paragraph. I think you'd be interested in this. It goes on to say, next fall, Tony, after Winchester lost to Arlington, this is while Tony's in high school, Winchester lost to Arlington and Marblehead, replaced Lentini at center with Polly shifting to blocking back. And the club, captained by Pete Sibley and Jerry Ficacello, commenced to click, rolling to a Middlesex League championship and defeating Woburn 46-0 for the largest score ever recorded in his series of arch rivalry. The reason I mention this guy, Tony DeTesso, if he weighed 140 pounds soaking wet, I rather doubt he did. But you know, there's comments made sometimes in life that big things come in small packages. Here's a man who started every game as a center, played both ways, weighing 140 pounds. In basketball, he was on the varsity squad for 4 years. Varsity starter for 3 years and letter winner. Baseball, varsity letter and starter for 4 years, lettered as a freshman. Total of 10 varsity letters. All league in football, 1937, 38, and 39. All league in baseball, 1939 and 40. 3 letter winners for 3 years. Voted outstanding boys senior class athlete. This next comment I'm going to make, I think, really epitomizes Tony. Cum laude for 4 years. Now, I think every parent in this room, anybody who's participated in athletics, when a man can do all he did on the gridiron, the basketball court, the baseball diamond, and be a cum laude graduate of Winchester High School and be cum laude for 4 years, to me, epitomizes the best type of athlete that Winchester High School can produce. He also received the Teacher Club Scholarship. This at the time was a very prestigious scholarship, which was given out to a member of the senior class, which Tony received. He was also the junior and senior class president. I know tonight is the Winchester High School Hall of Fame, but I think I should take a minute just to point out to you his career at Tufts University. After leaving Winchester High School, Tony went to Tufts. In the fall of 1940, he was a starter on the freshman team. Then he played varsity football for Tufts, 1941, 1942, and 1943. He was a starter at center, both sides of the ball. Playing time average, 58 minutes per game. You know today, just look at the way sports are played, particularly football. Very few players, if any, play both ways anymore. Here's a man in college who played 58 minutes, again weighing no more than 140 pounds, soaking wet. Co-captain of Tufts at 1943. Small college All-New England, 1943. And probably one of the most prestigious awards that Tufts University gives out, he was the winner of the Bennett Memorial Scholarship Award as Outstanding Junior Class Student Athlete at Tufts. He left to go into service in 1943, came back in 1946, and he got his degree. And he received his master's degree from Tufts in 1947. Also at the time, he was class marshal. He was also assistant coach of varsity football and baseball at Tufts while earning his master's degree. In 1986, Tony was inducted into the Jumbo Club, which is the equivalent of the Tufts University Hall of Fame. Named as one of the outstanding contributors to Tufts athletics as a participant and also since graduating. Just to go a little bit farther, I think sometimes in life we go through and we have certain accomplishments. But here's a man whom I think gave back to education for what he got from education. That was a good athletic career, a great career at Winchester and Tufts. Did well academically at Winchester High School and Tufts. But turned around and gave his entire life to the teaching and coaching profession. He was the teacher coach at Wilmington High School in 1947 and 48 to 49. He was the head at Wilmington High School, head coach of football, basketball, and baseball at Wilmington, undefeated football team in 1948. Teacher coach at Stoneham High School from 1949 to 1959. Head coach of football and baseball, faculty manager of athletics, Stoneham Recreation Committee, Stoneham Unicorn Committee, president of the Stoneham Pee Wee Hockey, president of Stoneham Little League Baseball, president of Stoneham High PTA while teaching at Melrose High, Melrose High School 1959 to 1987, teacher, equipment manager, advisor in the building of the Morelli Field. And if any of you have been to Melrose, and I know these seniors who played baseball know that's one of the finest baseball fields interscholastic facilities in the state. Athletic director, fields committee, director of Melrose Credit Union. Now, to me, there's a man who received so much and turned around and said, I want to teach and coach and try to give back the same that I received from Winchester High School and Tufts University. I think today, one of the things that I learned, and I think Sam Rotundi can bear me out in this, having served in the Senate, and one thing that we in America don't always do is maybe give back to our communities, to our state at some level. But this man tonight has given his whole life to young people, to athletics, and to teaching. I think that in itself certainly deserves an award to any Hall of Fame. But tonight, as inductee, Tony, to the Winchester High School Hall of Fame, the second year we're having this, I think no one can say that you as a person couldn't have done more for your family, but also for the teaching and coaching profession. I'd like to just mention, too, that Tony's wife is Margaret Mary McDonald, and some of you probably may not know Elizabeth, but she used to be the chairman of the Winchester Democratic Town Committee, and McDonald Field, which I think you know is up near Loring Avenue, was named after Margaret's mother. So they both have long roots in Winchester, and I think, as Artie Johnson put it so well, it's great to come back and see the roots, to feel where you come from. And I think tonight, Tony, you've brought back to Winchester, and I think it's been a great honor for me to be able to get up and just read off your accomplishments. These are unparalleled. And I'd like to have you come up, Tony, and receive this award. I just have to take a minute. One thing I didn't read, which I think is important. Tony's father was a well-known gardener in Winchester. He came over here to Winchester from Italy. He served in World War I, one of the founding members of the Winchester Legion Post, 97. And I'll have, after I read this, I want Tony to introduce his family. Tony, as a member of the Hall of Fame committee, I'd like to present to you Anthony DeTesso, Winchester High School class of 1940, on the occasion of your induction to the Winchester Sports Foundation Hall of Fame, 1992. I'm happy for you. Yep.
Before I introduce my family, I was quite interested in what Artie said about striking out 21 batters. I was his catcher. And my hand is still puffed up. My family, my wife Margaret, my daughter Liz, my brother Dan, my son-in-law Paul McClory, and my grandson, young Paul. My granddaughter, Margaret Elizabeth, named after my wife, Margaret. My daughter, Sue. My son, Neil. My daughter-in-law. Right here at Granby. My oldest boy, Alan, and his 3 children were not able to get here tonight. I missed my other granddaughter, Jillian. And then I have a flock of nieces and nephews there somewhere. Will you stand, please? This award is one of the most fulfilling achievements of my life. I am thrilled to be inducted into the Winchester Sports Hall of Fame. I am also humbled by the knowledge that I have joined such a great group of former Winchester athletes. To have achieved this honor was not done alone. I want to thank my family, the committee, my sponsors, my classmates from the class of 1940, and my very good friends from Stoneham, Melrose, and Tufts University. I too grew up in the plains section of Winchester, where playing sports was a way of life. Playing with and against some fine athletes fostered my competitiveness. Winchester High School gave me the inspiration and a motivation to excel not only in sports, but in the academics. Excellent teachers motivated me in the classroom. The one teacher that stands out in my memory is Mrs. Ella Stacy. You all know her? It was Mrs. Ella Stacy's influence that inspired, and we use the word inspired me to follow her steps in teaching United States history. That's why I became a history teacher, because of Mrs. Stacy. The coaching staff challenged me to do my very best in every sport. Two great coaches that I had were Wendell Mansfield and George Lauer. Coach Mansfield left at the end of my freshman year to become the head coach of football at Bates College. He later became the head coach at Springfield College. It was Coach Mansfield who had confidence in me as a freshman, weighing about 130, 135 pounds, to play me in the Thanksgiving Day game against Woburn in 1936. We played at that time, Manny, in mud that was that deep. You know the feel. And he also gave me the inspiration and the opportunity to play freshman base, to play on a varsity as a freshman. And that's where I first met this guy over here, Artie Johnson. At Tufts, my football coach, who I thought was one of the greatest coaches in the United States, Lou Manley, had a lot to do with my career. Incidentally, Mr. Manley was not only the football coach, he was chairman of the economics department, had 3 classes in economics, coached at Tufts for 25 years. Coach Mansfield had confidence in my ability, give me the opportunity to play 3 years of varsity football. But he was also instrumental in helping his players. The first thing he asked me in my senior year was, "What do you want to do, Tony?" I said, "Lou," and we all call him Lou, "I don't want to coach. I want to teach, but I want to coach." He said, "Do you want to go to New Hampshire? Do you want to go Maine?" I said, "I don't care where I go, Lou, but I want to teach and I want to coach." He said, "I'll do all that I can to help you get that position," and he did. He was the man most instrumental in getting me my first teacher coaching job at Wilmington, Mass. After graduation in World War II, I came back to Tufts to study and receive my master's degree. And it was then that I received my first taste of coaching. I was the assistant coach in football, assistant coach in baseball, and the man most responsible, again, was Coach Lou Manley. I have enjoyed, and I use the word enjoy very strongly, I have enjoyed my 40 years in teaching in athletics. In Wilmington, Stoneham, and of course the town I love the most, Melrose. Particularly gratifying were my years as athletic director at Melrose High School, because I met great people such as Bill Colella, Johnny Fawcett, and many, many others. My life has been a great one, a real great one, because I dedicated it to education, to sports, and to the young people. Thank you very, very much.
Take a deep breath. We've got two more, and I know you want to give them as much attention and courtesy as we've given the others. It's now 1942, and the Lindy Hop was out and the jitterbug was in. And swirling skirts and turned-down socks and saddle shoes rules women fashion throughout that year. FDR created the Women's Auxiliary. Congress banned all labor strikes during the war, and the Coconut Grove fire left its sad imprint on the American consciousness. In Winchester, Peter Provenzano was providing the residents of this town a much-needed reprieve into a very magical field of dreams. To present him for induction is a gentleman who is not only his teammate, but has remained his lifelong friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Dick Murphy.
I first met Pete in the fall of 1936. I was 11 years old, and it was at junior high school. And that's where we met Mickey Merling, who tried to organize us in some sort of fashion in terms of learning how to play these games that we enjoyed so much. And the first spring, I think, Peter invited me to come down to his house and go to Leonard Field. Now, I'll describe the Plains to you from my point of view, because I'd lived on the west side. I had never been east of St. Mary's Church in my life. So Peter told me how to get there. Shore Road existed then, Artie Johnson's Railroad Avenue, and down through where the high school is, and he got me to Florence Street. I went over on my broken down bicycle and met his family. Now, everybody my age knew Frankie because he was a great athlete in high school. He was that much ahead of us that he was everybody's idol. But I hadn't met Dominic, I hadn't met Sammy, and I had just met Peter. And I'm sure when I met his parents and left that first day, they probably said to Pete, "Where did you get that skinny friend with a funny name?" And we spent a lot of time there because we both loved sports. But I found out early on that this was a special guy. He was just so much ahead of all the rest of us. And you name the game, and he was absolutely elegant at it. He had the greatest reflexes in the world and the most beautiful attitude in the world. You could not faze him. He never looked any different from one moment to the other, winning or losing, and he lost very seldom. But you could always kind of plan on Pete to bail you out if you made a mistake. And he was, I guess you could call him our mailman, because he always delivered. And this went on through high school, starting, we played with, at that time, had a freshman football team, but then immediately he was on the varsity his sophomore year in all three sports, captain of basketball his junior year, captain of football and baseball his senior year, managed to bring us to a 9-1 record in football in his senior year. And in the Woburn game, when we kind of left him flat, I dropped a touchdown pass for him, but he found a way to get a touchdown anyway. And we were fortunate to win because of Woburn and Bobby Roach, who stepped out of bounds, and had he not, that game might have been tied. And then in the spring, Peter pitched us into the state tournament. It was the first Winchester team that had ever been there. And once again, every time he got up to pitch, you kind of knew you had an edge. He was just the difference in almost every game you played. And we got to the state tournament by virtue of beating Belmont in a playoff game, which Peter pitched. And we had to go to Watertown to play this neutral field. Winner would go to the tournament. He pitched a 5-0 shutout. And the opposing pitcher was Mike Palm, who a few years later was pitching for the Boston Red Sox. There were a lot of good athletes around. And Winchester had, fortunately, its share of them, but not too many towns had a Peter Provenzano. We were lucky to have that. I know his brother Don would love to be here and is not well. And Sammy, too, who was the unknown, who was maybe the best athlete in the whole family, if you would ask Pete. He could play everything. And Frankie, of course, most people here knew because he was associated with the school, a beautiful teacher, coach, and a beautiful gentleman. Now, Peter got out of high school. He signed a contract for the Boston Red Sox, and they sent him to Scranton. First game he pitched was a shutout, and I think he gave up 5 hits in the game, and he really had promise all over him. Unfortunately, the Air Force called, and they called a lot of people, and Pete spent 3 years there. And the time he got back to go to spring training, there probably were 10 returnees for every position because the war had wiped out 3 or 4 years of everybody's career. And fortunately, Artie Johnson got his career in, started just a little bit quicker, and I knew Artie as a kid because I was the bat boy for his Winchester Millionaires. And I knew Tony DiTesso as a kid. He lived across the street from Peter, and he again was a little ahead of us, and this was quite a neighborhood, the Plains. So if you want to get into this group, I think you should move there. Now, after Air Force, Peter then got into physical therapy, studied it, did some work for the Boston Red Sox, opened his own office here in Winchester, and then went to Harvard, where he spent over 30 years with Harvard athletics and taking care of the football, basketball, and baseball teams, and traveling with the kids, and pitching batting practice, and on occasion, when they got a little fresh with him, he would absolutely dust them. He could still throw a ball better than any kid they were going to see all year. I have in my pocket something I received today, if I can read it. Well, it's got to come out somewhere. At any rate, it was from Harvard. A very nice fax from the athletic director, Billy Cleary, saying in essence, congratulations, Pete, for a well-deserved award, and we wish you all our best. And signed by the athletic director, great hockey coach at Harvard, and great guy, Bill Cleary. Now, Peter's a special guy to me and always has been. And I would like to tell you this about him. I'm not trying to elevate this man to sainthood, but his parents, I think, had a euphoric feeling when they christened him. Peter Paul Provenzano. Come on. Pete, this is your plaque to add to the pile in your trophy room. And Peter Provenzano, Winchester High School, class of 1942. On this occasion of your induction into the Winchester Sports Foundation Hall of Fame, May 14, 1992.
Thank you
my
very much.
congratulations to a guy who deserves to be here.
Thank you very much. I'd rather be running on the football field with Dr. Boland to check out Vic Gatto's hamstring at a Harvard-Yale game in front of 60,000 people than speak. This is a great turnout. Thank you for your kind reception. My appreciation to Sam Rotundi and the Hall of Fame committee for inducting me into the Hall of Fame along with his distinguished former athletes. I respected Henry Knowlton, my coach, former coach, deceased. And I have to recognize Mr. Merling, the stepping stones in junior high, 7th and 8th grade. And I hated that over-the-top game. If anyone played over the top, there were half-inflated volleyballs, and you had to throw it at each other to knock you off. And the last one won a sort of a recess. Dick, thanks for your kind introduction. It was a pleasure to have you as a teammate during our pre- and high school days, and as 1942 class president. Dick would ride his warped wheel bike at noontime at my mother's house with glove and shoes hanging from the handlebars, and have one of my mother's salami or pepper and egg sandwiches, and then we were off to Leonard's Field. I had no bike, but I would walk beside him. He sold Phyllis and me our house when we got married. He finally took my money. It was a short distance to Leonard's Field where we would check out bats and balls from the playground counselor, Joe Tansey. Joe Tansey was supervisor all summer while attending Norwich. We had teams sponsored by the Elks, the Rotary, the Lions, and American Legion. We played round-robin games at Leonard's and Loring Fields at the time. They changed that to McDonald's Field. For an end-of-summer treat, Mr. Tansey would transport all teams to Fenway or Bracefield to see a game. That was the beginning of my athletic career. My wife Phyllis is here. She has been very supportive. Phyllis. She is from Woburn, and the Winchester rivalry continues. I'm happy to say that my family and close relatives are here to share my honor. During our high school years, there were two teams in town, the Winchester Cubs, managed by Mario Moroni, and the Winchester Elks, or Millionaires, managed by Paul Quigley. A sort of intra-town rivalry existed. Artie, too bad I didn't meet you in the Eastern League. I had to go in the service. I was at Scranton. The Winchester Town team was before my time. There were many famous athletes also. During the summer, we practically lived on the playgrounds. We also had little jobs. Some of us had no bikes or cars, so we congregated at Swanton Street and walked in a group to school in all kinds of weather. I guess all that walking was the way we conditioned ourselves compared to today, where athletes are fortunate to have access to more exercise facilities. I think sports should be accessible to all students because the discipline of winning or losing is part of the learning experience. Physical therapy and athletic training is a wide open field today, so you might consider that as a career. I'm glad that Winchester has a certified trainer, Ms. Gildersleeve, and it should be compulsory in all high schools nationwide. Team physician Dr. Dawn is a friend of mine. I would like to thank my former teammates because without your individual efforts and playing as a team, giving full support in various sports, I would not be standing at this podium being honored. I had great backing from Tony DiTesso and Allie Post as catchers, Dick Murphy, Scratch Amico, Dean Derby, Paul Rollo in baseball, and in football, Billy West, Dean Derby again, Frank Bazzotta, Al Tabordo, Slim Lentini, Bob Jackson, and so many others I don't have time to acknowledge, all my former teammates in football, basketball, or baseball. My Woburn rival was Bobby Roach, now deceased, but we had great games in football and baseball. We beat Belmont for the Middlesex title and qualified for the Eastern Massachusetts tournament at Grace Field. That was the highlight of my high school career, also being captain and all scholastic. Despite losing to Braintree 4-3, the experience was valuable. Scratch Amico, I'm still losing sleep nights thinking of you, trying to score behind me from second base on a short overthrow to third. I'm still upset, but I admire your hustle. Close friends of mine who played for Arlington and also in the tournament, sitting at my table, are Wally Flynn and Jack Cuna, and former Harvard associate trainer Henry Janaghan. Also sitting at my table, and it's time for a little ribbing, his father, Lefty McGann, who pitched for Woburn. In a game we pitched against each other, the score was Winchester 11, Woburn 2. He said previously he didn't remember the game or score. I have the ball right here. Winchester 11, Woburn 2. Provenzano and Post, Devaney, McGann, da-da-da, Bobby Roach, 1942. He saw this ball at Mass. Father, you didn't pray enough that day. Friendly quips are exchanged at church between Father McGann, Wally, Dick, and me about our former high school activities. After high school, you heard this again before, so I'm going to have to repeat. This is my speech. After high school, I was signed by the Boston Red Sox and pitched at Scranton, Pennsylvania, Class A. Artie was at Hartford, but that was before me. My high school professional debut was pitching the home opener and winning 5-1, before being drafted to serve our country with a 4-1 record. I was in the Army Air Force in England for 3 years in World War II. I didn't play professional baseball, or baseball rather, during my service time, but I did pitch in the minor leagues for 8 years after discharge. I attended physical therapy school, was registered, worked as assistant trainer with the Red Sox for 3 years with Jack Fadden, Harvard trainer for 31 years, and a private practice in Winchester for 27 years. Before concluding, my congratulations to the senior awards recipients. Meg O'Neill, my neighbor. I have had a wonderful life and have fulfilled my objectives. And again, I want to thank the committee, my friends, and everyone for being here tonight. Peace to all.
Are you in the second grade this fall? Then you can be in Cub Scouts, just like the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. We have lots of fun. We play games and sports and participate in outdoor activities. We learn new skills and receive awards for them. So contact your Boy Scouts of America Council and join us in the fun.